What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Welcome back. This is going to be your review of Ready to Love. This is technically season 3, episode 10. Like I said, my DVR says season 2, but this is season 3. Okay, y'all had me confused for like the first 6 episodes because this is my first. Anyway, moving on. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. Happy New Year to everyone. So we start this episode off, of course. Alex was eliminated last week. She left with a really good attitude. Like, listen, this ain't it for love for me. It's going to be what it's going to be. Quiet as it's kept. Rashid, I hope you got her phone number before she left because I think you're going to be needing it. But anyway, that's between me, you, and them. We had this really nice moment by the campfire. Well, I said campfire. By the fire pit. We saw Joy and we saw Jay, and they were flirting, and it was easy. And Joy in her confessional was just like, basically like, yeah, that's it. That's him. It's him, And then we have this conversation with Kelfani and Denise. I haven't figured out yet whether Denise is playing in our faces or if this is really what Denise needs. Like if this is really who she is, because she's talking to Kelfani and she's like, I've been like Tommy keeps asking us the situation, like what's good, and I have maintained from the beginning you are my number one. And Kelfani said, listen, you were my number one too until you started acting crazy. Okay, you were my number one too until you started tripping and you was showing me some things that I didn't like. And yes, I still like you. We still maintain that connection, but you kind of slid from number one to number two, and that's when Alicia not Alicia, because y'all will cuss me out if I call that girl Alicia. Adrian. People in my comments gonna be like, Alicia got eliminated. I know. All these A's. Y'all gotta work with a sister. Alex, Alicia, Adrian. Y'all gotta work with a sister. Anyway. And so Denise was just kind of taken aback by that because she was like, well, and on one hand, I feel where she's coming from. She was like, well, I know we kind of had a few hiccups, but that's what happens when you get to know people and you get to, you learn. I learned how you are, you learn how I am, and we kind of figure things out, and because that's what this whole process is about. So on one extreme, I see where Denise is coming from, but then on the other hand, I see where Kelfani is coming from, because I guess he was like, listen, what you showed me was way left of what I'm trying to deal with. Like, I do this for a living. I'm a personal trainer. I have a nice physique. I have dealt with jealousy, and I ain't trying to do it again. And I have to be doubly careful because I have a child that I'm bringing into the situation. And she says, and Denise asked him, well, is Adrian the kind of woman you think could be a stepmother to your children? I said, to your daughter? I said, ooh, that was ooh. But he was like, yeah. So I know Denise was hurt in that moment, and I felt it. I felt that hurt for her. But unfortunately, when you go on these types of shows, listen, I tell people all the time, when it comes to matters of the heart and when it comes to love, you only gonna win once. Like, the purpose is to find that one person, right? So everybody else, you figuring it out, and it ain't like a pair of shoes, but if you like both of them, you can take them home. You only gonna win once. And unfortunately, on shows like this, it accelerates that rejection process, and you end up getting potentially rejected 10 times. Because remember, they started off with 10 men and 10 women. Everybody ain't going home with somebody. So I commend everybody who puts themselves in this position. But the reality is, this ain't for everybody. Moving on, we're going to get back to Denise. I feel like I'm going a lot, but y'all going to see when I get there. Okay. Now, the next morning, there was a whole day. It's always a serious situation when they break the fourth wall and they see us what was going on behind the scenes. So production knocked on Jay's door early that morning, said that they needed to talk to him. And come to find out, Joy had found out that morning that her sister had died. She said she talked to her sister that morning, and then I guess her family called her back. Now, they did not, or at least I didn't hear them elaborate on whether the sister was already sick or this was like a really sudden thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't get easier. My brother died very suddenly, and so Jay in my mind, jumped into boyfriend mode. He was, he jumped into boyfriend mode. He was there. He let her cry. He let her scream and holler, do whatever she needed to do. It was very touching. It was a moment. Then Jay went and talked to Nephew. Oh gosh, I'm getting emotional, y'all. Ooh. Okay, hold on. Let me get myself together. Cause it was emotional. Like if you saw this episode, it was a moment. It was a moment. And then Tommy talked to Jay, and they so Tommy and Jay, they called for Jay, and so Tommy was talking to Jay, and then he opened up about his dad, and he started crying and got emotional. Jay was crying and got emotional. I said, I can respect this whole moment for so many reasons. For so many reasons, I can respect the moment because I feel like Jay and Joy have really truly made a connection. I think Jay really truly cares about Joy. Um, and I can respect that we saw two black men who were not afraid of being emotional and stepping into their feelings. So many times we teach our black boys, stop crying, man up. And I can appreciate that both of them stepped into that moment and they were allowed to be vulnerable with each other. And again, I'm starting to get a little emotional myself, so let me move along. So ultimately, obviously, Joy was leaving, and they called the rest of the group down. And it's funny, you could immediately tell who Joy was cool with and who was just there that she knew, because certain people knew what was going on and others didn't. Winter and Adrian knew. You could see it on their faces. They knew, but Denise didn't. And I thought it was very interesting that out of the three women, out of the three women that were left, Denise didn't know, right? And then out of the men, Kelfani looked like he knew, but I'm sure Adrian might have told Kelfani. Rashid didn't know, but that's because Rashid isn't connected, and Anthony didn't look like he knew either. But Rashid, I thought it was interesting that Kelfani looked like he knew. So it just was very interesting. I mean, that's not a big deal, and that's probably something that a lot of people weren't paying attention to. But I just thought it was interesting who knew and who didn't. But Tommy tells them the situation, and he tells them what's going on, and he said, Joy obviously left. She's on her way to Chicago to be with her family, and we're just going to send love and prayers. And what I can appreciate is that they gave each person the opportunity to send a message to Joy in the show, in their confessional. And I thought, because again, remember, this was filmed a while ago, and so Joy, you never get over grieving. As someone who's lost a sibling, you never stop grieving. But it takes a different form, right? So Joy may have moved on into a different part of her grieving process, but I'm sure it felt good for her to see that. Including Tommy. Tommy sent her a message as well. And so I just thought that was, I love the way they handled it. When you're dealing with, I tell y'all all the time, when reality when reality TV meets reality, and it's, I can appreciate how they handled it. I can absolutely appreciate how they handled it, right? So anyway, kudos to them and production for that moment. And so Tommy told them, listen, the reality is, this not gonna be a regular day. Like, it's just not gonna be a regular day. I want y'all to take some time to process. I want y'all to take some time to reflect on life being short. That whole moment, I need y'all to process on that. And then we saw a lot of hugs and moments and all of that. Winter reached out to both Edwin and Jay, and I felt it was sincere. I didn't feel like it was on no let me be here in your time of need situation. I felt like it was genuine. I felt like it was coming from someone who said, I know you were developing a connection with this person, and I feel that in this moment, this is genuine. And both men appreciated it, and both men, sort of spoke to what Joy meant to them. And Edwin said, she was the person that really helped me be self-reflective and look at the fact that maybe I needed some help and needed to seek some therapy, and help me really look at some things and process some things. Jay, when he was speaking to Winter, he told her, at the end of the day, there is no number two for me, right? She was it. I had figured out that she was it. And as a result, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go and be be there for her in the way that she needs me, in the best way I can be. But there really is no need for me to stay here, knowing that ultimately that's where my mind and my heart is right now. And Winter was like, I appreciate that. I appreciate you letting me know, and I respect it. And I respect you doing what you feel like you need to do in this moment. And I can respect it too, Jay. I know a lot of people have been giving Jay a hard time in my comments, but I can respect that too. I can absolutely respect that too. So they spent the day reflecting. I think it was a few other conversations here or there. Then we had Tommy put the group together again to speak. And it was the next day. He gave them, again, like he said, he gave them that day. So the next day they came together and he said, listen, we are getting down to the wire. Now is the time. If you have any entanglements, you need to untangle them. If you have 2 or 3 people that you've been kind of dating and seeing where it goes, you need to make a decision. Because we're at the end of this road, okay? Boys to men, boys to men, we are at the end of the road. And it is time for you to make a decision. The other interesting conversation before I get to the next part. Winter and Denise did have a conversation, and Denise sort of opened up to Winter that, Anthony had been her number 2, but now she's moved him up to her number 1, and Winter was like, oh, well, Anthony is my number 1, so... And Winter, again, I like Winter. I know some of y'all been in my comments and y'all ain't crazy about Winter, but I love Winter. First of all, I think she's the cutest thing. I think cute, I shouldn't say cute, beautiful. And I think she has a beautiful spirit. I really, really do. Winter was just saying, well, I know he's my number 1 and I can't make a decision for him or decide what decision he needs to make. That's between him and her, but I know how I feel. And so I thought that was very interesting that Winter, again, it was a mature way. I think this episode, for the exception of one person, I think this episode, the people in this episode handled a lot of what they had to do in a very respectful manner. So when Tommy brought everybody back together, they had a conversation. And that's what he was telling them, that it's time for you to break it down. You need to figure it out. You need to make a decision. What is it going to be? What is it going to look like? All of the above. And at this point, it really ain't that many entanglements left. The main entanglement is really Adrian, Rashid, and Kelfani, to be perfectly honest about the matter. Everybody else, I think, is pretty much figured it all out. Now, Edwin also made an announcement that he was leaving. So Edwin left the show, and ultimately, again, he really didn't have a number 2 at that point. Him and Jay was sort of vying for the same person. I think Winter had fallen out of both of their top 2. And so she was focused on Anthony, and she really wasn't really looking at them anymore like that. And so it was kind of a mutual thing, I guess. And so Edwin decided to leave. So that's why I said the only we had the Denise, we had the Denise, the Kelfani, the Denise Anthony Winter thing. Well, we're about to talk about that now. So, Denise goes to have a conversation with Kelfani. And she tells Kelfani, well, since you told me that, Adrian has sort of become your number 1, I'm letting you know now that my number 1 is now Anthony, and so we're going to have to break up. And she kind of threw a little in there. But at the end of the day, girl, you meant what you said, and you said what you meant. We gonna have to break up. See, that's how you became his number 2. That is how you fell to number 2, because we ain't in no relation. Girl, we are dating on a dating TV show. Girl, what are you? And so Kelfani was just like, okay, all right, then, girl, we broke up. So Kelfani goes to talk to Anthony, and like I said, if people ever think that men don't gossip, this is a perfect example. Kelfani went back to Anthony and let Anthony know what Denise said, talking about something. Yeah, we broke up, and now he's my number one. And Anthony was like, oh, so that means that I haven't been her number one, and the only reason why I'm her number one now is because you told her you would no longer, that she was your number two. So all this time I kind of thought I was number one, and I wasn't. Now, Anthony, let me say this. I don't know how you thought you was number one. I don't know. Again, I know things are edited, so it's a lot of stuff we don't see. But from what I have seen, and I know Denise wouldn't give you a straight answer about the number one thing when you asked her about it. But at the end of the day, how could you not know you weren't her number one? Anyway, so Anthony ends up having a conversation with Winter. And basically, in that conversation, they established that they are each other's number one. And so Winter was like, all right, Denise, you can go on a step to the side, girl, because it's me and Anthony. So that's why I said there really are no more, like, entanglements. Now, Denise said that she said that to Kelfani to see if he was going to fight for her. And my thing is, he may have wanted to fight for you if you had not worded it the way you worded it, but I'm going to break up with you when we was never in no relationship. I don't know what you wanted him to say. What was he supposed to say other than, okay? Because y'all weren't together. Now, if you had worded it differently and said there was sort of a swing, and you know you find, I mean, she did start it off that way, talking about she felt herself connected with Anthony in a different way, and this and this. Now, she did start it off that way, but I think that whole we gonna break up thing, I think, is what threw. So you did that. Really, you was playing a game. That's what you were doing. You were playing a game, and you lost. You gambled and you lost. You put all that shit on red, and it came up black because you was waiting for Kelfani to fight and say something that he just wasn't gonna say. And he went back and told Anthony. So now Anthony is looking at you side eye, and now Anthony has decided that, okay, well, I was teetering between you and Winter. I was sort of leaning towards Winter, but now I'm all the way in with Winter, and you are man out. So Anthony goes back to Kelfani. No, that's not what happened. Anthony decided to have a conversation with Denise because he said, he said, even though I appreciate Kelfani coming to me and telling me what happened, I do need to hear from the horse's mouth, and I can respect that. I can respect that you need to go back and hear from the horse's mouth. And so he did. And again, Denise, you played yourself because, see, you didn't know that Kelfani had already gone to Anthony and told Anthony something totally different. So you sitting there talking about how you've always been my number one, and it's been me and you, and I'm ready to ride this out, and it's going to be we riding till the wheels fall off. Girl, you look a whole fool. Anthony was like, yes, so that's not what Kelfani told me. And then Denise, was stuck. Okay? And Anthony said, thank you for coming out. I appreciate you playing, but I'm going to choose Winter. Denise was like, cool. He said, and, Kelfani. Now, this is where you was wrong, Anthony, because then he going to say, and Kelfani told me that he going with Adrian. That wasn't your place to say. That was not your place to speak for Kelfani at all. At all. You was wrong for that one, Anthony. In your lane, talk about what you doing, talk about your shit. Okay? That was not your place to put Kelfani in that. Okay? So then Denise was like, well, I would want to hear from Kelfani. So she says, call Kelfani to the floor, right? So Kelfani, at first he was like, what you talking about? And she said, well, Anthony said you got something to tell me. And he was like, I don't. Because he don't know Anthony to sold him out now, right? But again, he's honest with her. He's very honest with her. And again, Denise, I don't know if you was really serious or if you was playing games. Like, I don't know. But if you was really serious, girl, you overplayed your hand. That's just what it boils down to. You overplayed your hand. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. So Denise, I don't know if she's leaving because they didn't really eliminate anybody. I mean, people just kind of voluntarily left. The last we saw Denise, she was walking off, probably very hurt. And I would have been hurt as well, right? I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying you overplayed your hand. Then we have Adrian and we have Rashid. Rashid has been very upfront with Adrian from the very beginning. You're my number one. Yes, he entertained other people. He went on dates with other people, but like, listen, you are my number one, right? So him and Adrian are together, and he's asking her again, like, listen, am I by myself out here in this, or is it me and you? Like, am I, like, what's good? She ain't giving him no straight face, no straight answer. So that's why I say by the end of this episode, the only entanglement that we still dealing with is Adrian and what decision she's gonna make. Because pretty certain California is gonna choose Adrian. Pretty certain Anthony is gonna choose Winner. And that only leaves our man out, Rashid, and Rashid at this point. I mean, I've never seen this show, so I don't know how it goes in the end. Who gets to choose? Who gets to make the final decision? I don't know how that works itself out. But at this point, I mean, that's where we are, y'all. So that was the episode. Next week is the final episode, and then there's going to be a reunion, honey. I'm sure that's going to be very interesting. I can't wait. I'm here for all of it. All of it. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.